Hello again everyone and welcome back again for another video. So for today's build we're actually going to cover a case that I covered previously before. Kind of really isn't the one that I had in mind for my next build. I'm actually kind of still searching for that one. This was actually a build that came up for a client, well, a kid I work with. His name's Masyn. Um, he was talking to me about doing a build, and he's like, well, I got this budget here. What can you do for me, and can you have it done before Christmas? And I was like, yeah, I can work with you, no problem here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a budget gaming build here for Masyn. And we're going to use one of the more budget-oriented cases that are pretty popular. Now, I've gotten a couple questions about this case, not only in the comments, but also over on Reddit. So I figure what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to address those, and we'll talk about that mainly as the subject of this video. And what that is right here. Well, let me change my light here, and we'll get down in here a little bit closer. Is this RGB controller right here? Now, if you remember in the first video I did of this case, I didn't use this controller. I opted to unscrew this from there, take this out, and send it with the new owner, as well as the fans up front here. I didn't use these. I used some other fans and that rear fan too. I didn't like them because of, excuse me, this. As you can see, that is a 3-pin type. Let me change my light there so it's not glaring too much. This is a 3-pin type. It does not have PWM control. I prefer PWM type fans. And the RGB controller on here, I didn't really take a look at it to see what kind of colors it puts out. But you know what? We're going to do that today because we are going to use this RGB controller and this fan controller. Now, this hub on here actually does come with a PWM right here. You can see a PWM signal on the end as well as its power. And then over here is the interface that will go onto the motherboard's RGB ports. So this can interface with the motherboard, and this can allegedly interface with PWM. Now I'm guessing what it does is it takes its PWM signal from here, does a little bit of something here inside here to control the fan speed. Ideally, that's what it would do, and if they had worked it out right, it should work fine. And we'll find out as we go along here. But that's what we're going to do today. Is we're going to keep the stock 3-pin fans in here, and we're going to keep this PWM lead here. We're going to test it out, see how well that works, and we'll also test out the interface for the motherboard if the motherboard has one. I'm pretty sure it does. And we'll see how that works out, and we'll see what the stock RGB that comes with this looks like. So that leaves this side here, and that goes to another question I had about AIOs in this. So for this build, for Masyn's new computer, we're going to do an AIO in here up on top. Going to be a little, 240. So that'll be pretty neat. And I guess that's really about it that's different from what I did the last time. So the last time, if you remember, I did just a basic, simple build using, I think on that one, I actually used a stock AMD cooler to show you. But this has got some pretty good depth. But, like I said, we're going to use an AIO in it this time. Pretty it up a little bit. I got kind of a white theme, in mind here for this. White as in whatever I got around here that's white. A couple parts aren't like the motherboard. It's got like a little bit of white. And the graphics card in here has got some black. But whatever. That's what basically it comes down to is the price that I agreed on with Masyn and the deal I'm going to cut him with this. So, I mean, if I can't go 100% white, well, tough shit. Spend some more money. I'm just kidding. He's a good kid. All right. So, let me cut this scene here. Let me go get the board and let's get started with this build. See you in a second. All right, so we got the beginnings of our parts going on here. Let me give you a quick rundown here of what we're using in here in this budget gaming build. Starting with the motherboard, we're using the Asus Prime B450M. Now, the reason I got this board basically was pricing. Wasn't necessarily what I would tell you to get. I would actually tell you to look for something like a B550 or even a A520. Go with the 500 series. Sometimes you can run into issues with the B450s or the A320s, even like some of that older stuff, where you might need to flash the chip to support the newer Ryzen processors. But you absolutely, if you're looking to save money and you get it at a good price, you can use a lower tiered Ryzen AM4 board like an A320 or a B350 if you want, provided that you do have the resources to make sure the BIOS is updated. Now this one, if we look at the boxing here on this, you can see it says that it's AMD Ryzen 3000 ready. Now it does have a sticker here, which is actually a separate sticker that you can see was put on. I can kind of scrape it off there a little bit as an after thought, I guess. So that tells you that they probably more than likely did a BIOS update on this already to make this AMD Ryzen 5000 ready, like the sticker right there claims. You can see it says AMD Ryzen 5000 ready. Same thing with this Windows 11 sticker that is on the box. That was also put on additionally, more than likely at the factory after a BIOS upgrade. So we shouldn't, theoretically, according to the sticker, we shouldn't need to update the BIOS to get the processor to work. Now, speaking of the processor, this is going to be another 5600G build. Now, on the AM5 platform, those processors all have onboard video with them, which is great for diagnosing problems as you're doing a build. You don't have that on the Ryzen. Only the G series carry the upgraded Radeon graphics on them that will run without a graphics card. Now this build will have a graphics card in the end, but when it comes to like the AM4 platform, I've kind of pushed myself more into doing the AM5 stuff, but when it comes to the AM4, I've just kind of decided from now on, if I'm going to do anything with them, it's either going to be like an AG or a integrated graphics type setup on the cheap for, like older people and stuff with the built-in Radeon graphics, or I'm going to use a G series processor anyways, unless the person requests like an X series or just a non-G, non-X plain CPU. So this one we're going with the 5600G. Optionally, I'd go with the 5700G. Now the nice thing about that is when you do go with CPUs like this that have that onboard graphics is that if you do decide later on to upgrade and maybe put your graphics card onto a different platform besides the AM4, then you can just pull it out, carry it over, and then just sell the computer as an integrated one, flip it for a profit. Another nice advantage of those G series processors. But anyways, carrying on here, we do have 32 gigs of DDR4 memory. You can see this is white stuff here. Obviously the board isn't all white. It's got like a little bit of white on there like I was saying earlier, but this is going to be kind of a white build. One of the things we're going to see is if we have the clearance here when we put the AIO in, that it's not going to bump the memory. So we'll find out if it will actually go on top or if we're going to be forced to put it up in the front, and we will find out as we go along. Now the AIO, getting to that, is a Thermalright Aqua Elite 240 in white. Like I said, we're going to use the stock fans that come with this case, and then the 2 additional fans here to make the total of 5 fans that we have. And we're going to integrate those all together. And then to finish that off here, we got our M.2, and we're just going to run a Crucial P3, good priced, up to 3,500 megabytes. Great Gen 4 going on right there. And then right here, we have our extensions. I got some light blue and white. Let's see if we can open these up. Maybe take a look at these real fast. Let you have a look at the extensions on there. Kind of a baby bluish color with some white that we got going on here to give this a little added color. I mean, typically I use like red. I use red a lot, but I wanted to go with something a little bit different. So we're going to use the baby blue on here. So blue and white with some white other stuff in there. White memory. This should be a pretty nice computer, and not a lot of money being spent here so far. When, like I said, I was talking about pricing on the B450. I got this at a pretty decent price. Wouldn't necessarily be the board I'd go with, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to go with like an X570 or an X470 to get decent gaming out of that. I really only recommend like the X570, X470, like in the AM4, for people that really like to tweak their settings and squeeze a little bit more out of their CPUs. If you're just a download and go gamer, don't bother. Don't waste your money. I'm telling you, you're not really going to see too much of a significant difference in the platforms going from like say an A320, which is like the lowest of the low grade, all the way up to like an X570. You're really not going to see too much of a difference there. Maybe a little bit of stability, that's debatable, depending on the board, depending on a lot of factors, really. But budget conscience wise, you can stay with the 300 series, 400 series, and not really worry at all about losing much performance at all, if any. So, all right, so that is the hardware we're going to go with here. Now, let me go ahead and we'll get this opened up, and I'm going to stick the processor in, stick a module or 2 in there, stick the power supply on there, which is up here. It's a 730 watt. I didn't mention that, I guess. And we'll do a quick first boot on here just to make sure this is posting, and then I'll go ahead and start sticking this in here, and we'll talk about this case just a little bit more. Hold on. All right, so I got this booted now on the little makeshift test box there that I got set up. If we look up on the screen there, we can see the BIOS screen for the motherboard. Now, when I do these test boots, not only is it to make sure that we're booting okay and the CPU and all that's working, it's also to check the BIOS version on here before I do anything at all. I want to update the BIOS. Now you'll notice that I only have 2 memory sticks in here. If you want, you can only run with 1 if you want. I don't even have them probably in the proper slot. I don't know. I don't care. Not checking at the moment. Not going to RTF them right now, but what I do want to look at is up in the corner there to see that BIOS, and as you can see, it's BIOS version 4002. Now going to, one second here, I need to switch on that, turn off that and that, and if we go to this screen here, we can see that the latest BIOS for this is 4401, so I'm actually going to go ahead and download that, and I'm going to go ahead and flash the BIOS on this. Let me get back here, and then after I'm done flashing that BIOS, I'm going to go ahead then and go ahead and put the motherboard in there. Of course, I got to take this off. This is just temporary fan on there. Take the motherboard in, and we'll do a little bit of measuring, make sure that I/O is going to fit. But so far, we're starting off good, starting off strong. It is booting up, no setbacks so far. So let me cut this scene, get some shit done, and we'll be right back. Okay, so now that we've determined that the board works just fine, I went ahead and put it inside the case. Now, remember I said we're going to do an AIO in this build. And one thing that I didn't measure the last time that we are going to check out this time is our clearance for an AIO. Now, BitFenix claims a 240 will fit on top. Yes, it probably would, but the memory we are using, of course, is the Corsair Vengeance stuff, which has got a little higher depth in it than a lot of other memories would have. I suppose you could probably find some RGB type memory that is lower for clearance and make it work, but for this situation, it's probably not going to work for us. If I tilt, let me tilt this case here and tilt my camera angle here and see if we can zoom in on this so you can see what I'm talking about here, kind of. Let me take the tape measure here. I've always told you that you need at least 50 to 55 millimeters of clearance from the top. Now, from the top of this to where the ramp starts, we're at about 46 millimeters of clearance before it starts to bump right here. Where the AIO would actually screw in. It would actually protrude just a little bit out this way. So we actually need to be about here. So our RAM height would probably need to be about, maybe 30 millimeters at most tall. I would think. I'd have to get an exact measurement. I'm not sure. But otherwise, you're going to have some clearance issues if you do try mounting an AIO up on top here, and I will show you that. Let me back that up here and grab the AIO. Excuse me. So here it is. If I go up as high as I can, I'm starting to bump here on the memory. See, I can't go back far enough. The clearance is just not there. Nope. So we're going to have to take this and mount this that way. No big deal, you know. But it does kind of interfere a little bit if you are considering using a longer graphics card here. Taking out the tape measure, we've got, about 13 inches of space. And you'll lose, we'll say an inch. We'll give it an inch to make it maybe a 12-inch graphics card at most that you can kind of squeeze in there. But I really don't see that as a problem these days. I mean, graphics cards are a lot bigger, but something this size in this budget range, I'm not seeing somebody actually investing the money on cheaper parts just to put a massive fucking graphics card in there. So I'm not really going to call that an issue, having to put the AIO on the side here and having the front intake. No big deal. But I will have to take these fans, of course, switch them up on top instead. But let me go ahead, cut this scene, get that done, and we'll continue with this build. All right, I've progressed quite a ways with this build, and to talk about order of operation first here before we get into this, I started out by doing the AIO first. Now, the reason I'm going to tell you the order of operations is because you're going to have a little bit of difficulty if you try starting out with these fans, trying to get these plugged in. And that's why I did the AIO first, mounted it up in there. You can see our little fans up in front there, followed by plugging them in right here. I ran it through right here. That way, up and down and around, and then plugged in the bottom one. We got our fans for the front plugged in. Top one, we got the AIO plugged in. And plugged in right over here is the controller for the RGB. Now, getting to the RGB, I did run into a little bit of problem with it. Let me go ahead and I have it kind of disconnected here a little bit here, so let me go ahead and power this on here a little bit so you can see this happening. Let me go ahead and turn this off. Starting with these fans right up here. Now, they're looking good. As you can see, they're kind of doing a blue and white effect there that I have them set to. Let me go ahead and switch this to motherboard mode. Now, right now, this is running on the controllers thing, which looks fine. Like I said, running a blue and white theme there, no problems. But let me switch to the motherboard mode. And there we go. You can see the back fan. These three fans here. You can see them kind of glitching here. Hold on. Let me back up so you can see this happening. Here's the front fans, which are running just fine. Now, these are the Thermalright brand. These are the BitFenix ones. Now, what I have is they're all connected together on the controller, and they should be, feeding enough power. Now, this is either going to be, the problem is either going to be my Lighting Node Pro. Now, this board does not have its own internal RGB on the board. I'm using a Corsair Lighting Node Pro on this. So either I have a defective lighting node or it's just not pumping enough voltage for these fans, or these fans are crap. I have to diagnose what is going on there. Now, there's a couple different things I can try. One of the things I'm considering doing is I'm going to switch out the 3 BitFenix fans for some Montech stuff here. Little better fan. That's my option there. Another option I have. Excuse me. I'm going to try a different splitter on this to see if maybe that'll make a difference. I am pretty sure, though, I am going to have to end up switching to the Montech fans just to make this look good. Another problem, let me go ahead and go back to regular mode here that I'm seeing. Again, here is the Thermalright fans, and you can see this is going basically in a clockwise pattern here as this goes. Now, in the back and up on top, they are moving in a counterclockwise pattern. Now, that might not make much of a difference to you, and no big deal in the bigger scheme of things. But, excuse me. But, yeah, there is something a little bit off about these fans compared to the other ones. Now, I can take my Montex, and I'm not going to show you on screen here, and plug those in. And those will also go in a clockwise direction on the RGB here that is being produced. So that's another reason I might just switch these out to the Montech fans instead. Otherwise, this controller isn't the worst. I mean, we can go like this. Let me go ahead and shut off the lights here. Well, you have a quick preview of some of the effects this thing does. I'd say there's probably, if I had to guess, maybe about 60 different effects. I mean, they're not that great. Mainly some two-colored effects. Going through the usual scenario of colors. You get your RGB colors, and then you get like a light blue, a purple, and a white, and then I think like a lime. Here we go. We got white. Okay, red, green, blue, excuse me, a white. Okay, there's red changing to different patterns there. Yeah, not too many effects on here. We get a lot more with the Corsair stuff than we do with the onboard. So I might, just because I'm not really liking this, the way this is integrating, and I'll after I get done with my, see, I want to keep the onboard RGB on here integrated with the Corsair, but considering how weak that controller is, that it did that. Let's see if we can look at that anomaly in the dark here. There we go. So in the dark, you can really see that problem with it right there. Now, I've tried different settings in IQ, different types of fans and what have you. So like I said, it's just these 3 BitFenix fans that are kind of screwing up here. The other fans, I tried those. I daisy chained those. Look good. So I'm pretty sure it's not the power delivery from the lighting node Pro. I'm pretty sure it's the fans themselves just can't handle this type of signal coming out from the node. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this video here. I'm gonna work on this a bit and see if we can wrap this up and get this problem solved. Okay, so I got the RGB problem sorted out finally. Did a couple experiments with it. I tried a different type of Corsair controller. I used a lighting node core. Tried it with that. Tried a couple different fan configurations with the core. Tried basically what I ended up figuring out is the problem was not the BitFenix controller at all. It was not the fans. The problem was actually the Corsair Lighting Node Pro. The little guy just doesn't have the juice I need to power 5 fans plus the pumps RGB. But I did want to put the Corsair Lighting Node Pro to use. So what I'm using that for is for the the LEDs down here that I put on the power supply window, and then for the LEDs on the pump, and then also the memory modules are Corsair. Now I'll show you that real quick while I'm doing this, so you can see that in action. Kind of got a little blue and white theme going on there. Let me turn these off. Um, Kind of got a blue and white theme going on there at startup, and when the Corsair software kicks on, it'll change to a different kind of theme, which you'll see here in just a second. There we go. You see how the color kind of changed there, and the pattern on the memory kind of changed a little different. Instead of going this way, it's now going down, and this is kind of doing some random colors instead of just the blue and white, and this also is doing some random colors instead of the blue and white. That's just a simple Corsair utilization going on here. Everything else is going to be ran off of 2 different things for the fans. I got a button up here that we can use, and I'll show you that real quick. Here, let me lower this down here so you can see this, so that I could use to change the effects on the fans. And on this controller, in order to switch it to motherboard mode, you're just going to simply hold down on it until it flashes. There you go. You've seen it flash. Now it is in motherboard mode, where it is actually picking up signals from this. Now, if I was using a normal motherboard on this that did have the addressable RGB output, this controller would actually probably work just fine for you. So I don't want you to be discouraged by the controller because I couldn't get Corsair to work. That's actually a pretty common problem with the Corsair Lighting Node Pro that I have ran into. That's why it was kind of quick for me to figure out that it was the root of the problem for me with that flickering that I showed you earlier on the things. But anyways, so that's the RGB. Now, right now we are in the mode here with the remote control. So now I can go, if I want to, see right there, I can select my colors with this. We'll go to a white right there, green, red, blue, light blue, yellow, orange, and so on and so on and so forth. Otherwise, we can go with different modes on here that will show different patterns. If I go auto mode there, it'll cycle through different color patterns. So we got all different kinds of ways here to control this with the remote and with the button on top. Now, if you're not going to use the remote, let's say I have this here in off mode. I guess the fan lights are officially off, and everything else, if you want to just turn them off, you can do that in software. So this is off, but if we want to switch back to, I'll go up here, back up to normal mode with the button, it's just press the button and there it goes again. And there we can cycle through some other stuff there. But let me go ahead and cut this scene and continue working. I'm just about wrap this up. Now, one thing I did do before I cut the scene here and tell you about, I did put a, see if we can see it from here, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth in there too. Can't see it because it's kind of hidden there with that. But all right, let me cut this scene and we'll continue on. All right, so our build is done. So let me go ahead and switch the keyboard here. And we'll start out by doing the stats on this like I always do according to Task Manager. Starting with the CPU, we can see this one is running the AMD Ryzen 5 5600G. Memory, we are running 32 gigs of PC 3200 Corsair Vengeance RGB memory in here. Disk 0, we are running the Crucial P3 1 terabyte M.2 NVMe. And for our graphics, we are running the Radeon RX 5500 XT. Now, the 5500 XT, I think is just great for basically any AM4 CPU if you want to start out in gaming. You can get cheaper ones on the used market like the RX 580, which isn't too bad, and I've talked about that one before, but I think if you're going to go new and you just kind of want to get your foot into the door when it comes to gaming, I think starting out with the RX 5500 XT or better, it would be a perfect choice for you that's not going to break the bank too dang much. So that's our combo here, is the 5600G and the 5500 XT. A little less powerful than the last 5600G build I showed, but let's look at a couple of things here. Now, first of all, to talk about the Thermalright 240 AIO that I have in here, when I was stressing it out in Cinebench, it actually did really well. If we look over here at our temperatures, it reached a peak of 61.5 C while I was stressing it. You can see there was about 3 minutes left on this test, and this is all the higher that it had reached during the testing. So that is just absolutely fantastic for a 240 AIO. Keeps the CPU nice and cool. Looking at Heaven's benchmark, scored 126 frames a second with a max of 271 on high with that combo 5600G 5500 XT. That's pretty decent going right there. And let's see, looking at Cinebench here, under the multi-core it scored a 10,950, and under the single core it scored a 1,421. Pretty decent mid to upper score there for this system here, and for not a lot of money, like I said. The kid that's getting this, Masyn, he's a pretty lucky fuck that he's getting it for the price that he is. Now, you're going to see the price of this, what it costs to slap together, over on the builds.gg page, and I will leave a link to some of the products here. But it's actually, what Masyn is paying is actually a lot less than what the actual retail is this, because I was actually able to get a couple of these parts from the sponsors or whatever and talk to a couple of people and ask around, and I got him this great deal on this system that you're seeing me talk about today. So he is one lucky fuck. Now, speaking of lucky fuck, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to take and switch on the 4K cam here. 1 second. There we are. And we are now looking at the computer and a can of Lucky Fuck that is that was sent to me by one of my suppliers. He said, try this out. And I've tried other free drinks and stuff before that I get sent, and I review them or whatever. And I really got a kick out of this stuff. Literally, let me read this to you. Get lucky, be lucky. This is your one life. You're lucky as fuck to have another day. Time to live it. LFG Energy turns you on and inspires you to keep going. Whether you're dealing with your pain in the ass boss, dropping into a wave, or cutting your lawn, be grateful for another moment to kick ass in the game of life. And it lists the 5 super ingredients that are in here: maca, ginseng, taurine, caffeine, whatever. Pretty low calorie stuff. 5 calories on there, 3 grams of carbs, let that focus there so you can see that. Low calorie drink, and it actually tastes really good. Now, a lot of these energy drinks or whatever that you get, you drink them and they just give you like a real good, whoa, okay, and that's kind of where the energy really comes from. But this one doesn't have that hard hit, but it does have a decent tang to it. It's just not too intense, which I like. Pretty good stuff. They sent me a case of this stuff, and I've been, drinking it off and on here, and I like it. So, and I said, yeah, I could promo this shit for you in one of my videos, not a problem. So, yeah, today's video is brought to you by Lucky Fuck. Anyways, on with the build. Here it is, looking at it on the front side here. We'll look at it up on top here. You can see it's nice, clean looking up here. We got the remote up there. In the back is the Wi-Fi antenna for his Wi-Fi. We'll put the remote back up on there. Oops. We'll turn the camera angle this way so you can have a look at it this way. See if I could, 1 second here. If I could reposition this. There we go. Oops, I think I just froze my camera up. I did. I froze the camera. Hold on, let me pause here so I can stop my camera from doing that. And I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Just a quick technical difficulty there. What it was is the USB cable on there kind of came loose off the camera and I was moving it around like that. But anyway, so that's our build. Turned out really nice for not a lot of money. I'm actually really happy with this, and I was a little disappointed that I couldn't get the AIO up on top. Let's see if I can move this again without the camera zonking out on me. I was a little disappointed that I couldn't get the AIO up on top there. Not too much of a big deal, but I kind of would have liked to. I mean, I suppose if I wanted to, I could have put some more fans over here in the back of the AIO and done like a push-pull configuration and really RGB the hell out of this. I was thinking of putting a strip here, but I don't know. I just really wasn't in the mood to put a strip there. I thought it looks a lot better just like this. And again, as I've built in this before, you can see even with the AIO, you still have a decent amount of room here up in the back here, and then down below here to mount 3 more SSDs plus a couple more down at the bottom. So if you want to expand your drives in this, you most certainly can. Overall, really nice build. Check out the price on builds.gg, and I will leave a link down in the description there to a couple of the products that I used here to get this going, along with the case. And yes, I'll leave you a link to some Lucky Fuck. All right, guys, let's end this video. Like I said, this was made to be like an entry-level gaming machine. Let's end this video with something a little different. Today we're going to end this video with a little bit of Fortnite gameplay. So I'll see y'all in the next video. I got that one semi-planned out. I kind of know what it's going to be, but we'll see y'all in the next one, and enjoy the game footage.